There is some absolutely huge news that just broke on EA just a couple days ago at the start of the weekend on Friday by the Wall Street Journal. It actually involves them very possibly getting bought out, and this could get announced as early as, well, tomorrow, Monday. It sounds like this could actually come out at the start of next week, which, yeah, starts tomorrow. So just unpacking everything, this is all originally, like I said, coming from the Wall Street Journal, specifically this article that came out on Friday, September 26th, that EA, or Electronic Arts, is nearing a deal that is worth roughly 50 billion US dollars, and this is to go private. Getting into the article, they say that this would be the largest leveraged buyout of all time, according to people familiar with the matter, so this is according to their sources. Now, unfortunately, this is where the article cuts off in true Wall Street Journal fashion. There is a paywall, so I'm looking at Reuters here. So they say that the Wall Street Journal's sources are saying that the buyout could be involving 3 different investors. It's 3 different groups here. So one of them is a group called Silver Lake, another is the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, and the last one is by a company called Affinity Partners, which is owned by Jared Kushner. So it sounds like this deal will in some way involve all 3 of those investing groups, and this will, it sounds like, break as early as next week, or like I said, tomorrow. So there is a lot to break down from just that, I guess, little bit of information that we got. So first off, this is reportedly going to be a leveraged buyout. This is a little bit, or actually a lot of bit, different than just a regular buyout, because with a leveraged buyout, it sounds like the majority of the money that the companies are actually using to buy out that company is actually borrowed money. And the crazy kicker is that usually with these leveraged buyouts, the company that is being bought out takes on a lot of that debt. It's not just directly the investors. So you can probably piece together how that can sometimes lead to problems. But sometimes these leveraged buyouts are successful, but yeah, sometimes they're not. So then as far as these investing firms, like I said, it's going to be 3 of them from what it sounds like. Obviously, we are in the bare minimum of the details right now, so we don't know exactly how this is going to be divided amongst these 3 firms. I probably would assume that it's not just going to be an equal, like thirds. I'm assuming some of these companies are going to own more of the shares of EA than others. But yeah, we got 3 firms here. So one of them is the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund. Now, I have talked about them on a few different videos in the past. They're kind of a newer firm, but basically they are owned by Saudi Arabia, the actual country, the nation. They are gigantic, to put it lightly. They manage literally hundreds of billions of dollars, and they invest globally. They're behind a huge thing that Saudi Arabia is trying to do right now. They are calling it Vision 2030, where basically by the year 2030, which is just 5 years from now, they're trying to diversify a whole bunch of the country's wealth, and a lot of that, as it seems from past investments and recent investments, is in tech. So this would be right up their alley. Now, another firm that is behind this, the second firm here, is Affinity Partners. Now, as I said, this is actually owned by Jared Kushner. This is actually Donald Trump's son-in-law. Yeah, he's married to Donald Trump's daughter, Ivanka Trump, and he started this investment firm 4 years ago in 2021, so it is very new. But something that I noticed that stuck out to me that I'm not seeing a lot of people are talking about here with this investment firm is that it says the firm has a focus on investing in American and Israeli companies. Its sources of funding are overwhelmingly from the Saudi Arabian government. So that is kind of interesting that 2 of the 3 investment firms have very strong, if not pretty much literal, ties to Saudi Arabia. Again, they are a country that very recently has just really wanted to invest a ton in tech, so it does make a lot of sense. Now, the third one, the last one here, the last firm is Silver Lake. Now, they have no ties, from what I am seeing anyway, to Saudi Arabia, or at least no, huge ties to Saudi Arabia. I'm sure they do have some investment at some point in the country, but I don't think they are, backed by the country itself. They are a company that is headquartered in the U.S., specifically, they are headquartered in California and New York. They are worth a ton of money. there are different sources that say different things, but generally I'm seeing that they are investing somewhere around 100 billion US dollars worth of assets. Now, with these leveraged buyouts, again, there are success stories and then there are not so successful stories. One of those not so successful stories is Toys R Us. If you remember back in the day, that was a leveraged buyout that did not work out very well. But kind of a much more successful story is Dell, the company Dell. Now, when we go on to Dell's Wikipedia, I just want to point this out, that they actually had a leveraged buyout. This was 12 years ago in 2013. And funny enough, this actually very much involved the Silver Lake investment firm. That last firm I was talking about, that firm based in America. Now, this was a leveraged buyout of about 25 billion US dollars. This was one of the largest leveraged buyouts of all time. And this could be double that. Like I said, this would be absolutely gigantic. Now, one last thing I want to mention here, because obviously we really don't know much else about this whole thing. But one last thing I want to talk about is, why would this be happening? Why does EA reportedly want to have their company be bought out? Or maybe they really don't want to, but why would this be happening in the first place? Like, is EA doing bad? Are they not doing well financially? Well, when we look at it, it doesn't really seem like that's the case. They are actually, from what it seems like, doing pretty well. As I said, they are worth something around 50 billion US dollars, and it looks like this is basically the highest they have ever been worth. A lot of gamers talk a lot of crap about EA, myself included, but, you know, like it or not, they are a very successful company. They own a lot of huge video game series, The Sims, Apex, FIFA, and way more. So if this does happen, the reason behind this is something that would be very interesting to eventually find out. It's not really just like cut and dry. The reason for this could be very complicated. It could be due to strategic partnerships or different restructuring. We really don't know. But one thing is for certain, this would be an absolutely gigantic buyout. It would be absolutely huge, groundbreaking, whatever you want to call it. And I would say very surprising. So we will see if this gets announced next week and maybe even as early as tomorrow.